Hello, my name is Charity Pleasant of Pleasant Investments LLC. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be doing a series of hair color videos on the truth about hair color. Today I'm going to be discussing the ins and outs of your hair color formulations. I've been licensed here in the state of Ohio since 1998. I've had various experience in and out of salons doing retail experience. I've also had experience owning my own salon too. So why don't you follow me along on our journey and like me at Pleasant Investments on YouTube. Follow me on the channel, like and subscribe. Also check me out on pleasantinvestments.com. Now I'm going to dive right into hair color. Hair coloring, defined by My Lady's Standard Book of Cosmetology Revised, is the science and art of changing the color of hair. We can do this by adding or removing artificial pigment from natural hair, or we can add or remove artificial pigment from previously colored hair. It's always recommended that you do a patch test behind the ear or in the bend of the elbow. This is just going to ensure that your client is not allergic to any ammonias or peroxides which are in hair color. I also recommend that each time you do a hair color in the salon, that you keep a client card. This profile card is going to keep all the formulations that you use with your color, so that if you want to tweak it next time by a little heavier volume or a little less volume or a little bit level change, you can keep that on your client card. Now I'm going to go into pre-lightened hair. When it comes to pre-lightening hair, what you're actually doing is bleaching or removing pigment from the hair. You're removing either previously colored hair or you're removing natural hair color pigment. One thing you need to know about bleaching the hair is when it's good and when it's not good to use. When it comes to fine hair is sometimes missing the medulla layer. There are 3 layers in the hair: the cuticle, the cortex, and the medulla. The medulla sometimes is missing in fine hair because the layer is just so fine. So when you go ahead and do your strand test and see whether your client can take the bleach, just make sure you're testing the porosity and the elasticity of the hair to make sure that you're using the correct volume when you're bleaching. Now, it doesn't take a lot to bleach fine hair either. Because it's so fine, it takes less time for the bleach to oxidize and reach down into the cortex of the hair. Now, with that being said, sometimes medium and coarse textures can be damaged using bleach as well. That's why it's important to do your elasticity test and your porosity test. Make sure that your client does not have extreme damage already on the hair. Now, this tip is for both cosmetologists and people doing their hair color at home. Make sure you read the manufacturer's instructions and make sure you look at the ingredients, because some people are prone to be allergic to ammonia in hair coloring. Most of the hair color that we use in our professional items in the store, they contain either the ammonia or the peroxide. Now, for example, I myself have had bleach in my hair. I've used 10 volume bleach on my hair to just remove some color when I'm ready to go lighter in the summertime. Now, I always test my hair to make sure it's strong enough to hold the bleach. What I do is just take one little strand of hair and put the bleach on it and test it and make sure that it does not break. Now, it's vital to wait if you're doing bleach on the hair at least 2 weeks after you do any other chemical service. For instance, if you're getting another color like 20 volume to cover your gray, it is good to wait 2 weeks so that you can make sure that your hair is calmed back down from its pH. Now, I always recommend that according to manufacturer's instructions, you don't put any higher than 20 volume on the scalp. Now, you can go up to 30 and 40 volume on the ends of the hair as long as your hair is strong enough to hold it. Now, here's a tip. Always put protective cream on my scalp if I don't want the color to overlap. Say, for instance, I've had color before and I'm just touching it up and I don't want to go on the roots again. I put a little bit of conditioner to cover those roots so that I don't re-lighten the roots when I go back and put another application of bleach. Now I'm going to go into a section on hair coloring. When it comes to hair coloring, if a client walks into the salon and say they're a level 8 and they desire to be a level 4, now you can use either demi, semi, or permanent color. It's up to you as a stylist. Now, when clients go from an 8 to a 4, it's sometimes a shock because the color is so dark. So some things that I normally do are I mix either equal parts of 4 and 5, or sometimes I'll put a little conditioner filler on the ends so that it doesn't drab really dark at the ends and light at the scalp. That's a tip that I've used over the course of my experience. Another thing you might want to do when it comes to fine hair when you're going darker, sometimes people will be shocked when they see their color if they're going from an 8 to a 4, because fine hair, it holds on to pigment a lot more than coarse and medium hair because the pigment is more tightly grouped together. So be cautious with that. Now, there are 3 things that I always have with me, whether I'm doing a pre-lightening bleach service, rather I'm doing a color 4 or 5 levels lighter, what the client wants. I'll have the 10 degrees of decolorization chart. I have the hair color wheel, and I have my hair color finder. What these three things are going to help you with is, 1, the color finder helps you to find where your client starts at. The 10 degrees of decoloration is going to tell you what is the underlying pigment in the hair. And what the color wheel is going to do is tell you, once you get to that level, what color base you're going to use to neutralize the unwanted pigment in the hair. For example, your client comes in at number 6 and she wants to be a number 10. Well, we know according to the 10 degrees of decolorization chart, number 10 has some underlying tones of yellow to pale yellow. And when you grab your color wheel, you're going to notice that when you go opposite of that pale yellow, you're going to see violet on the color wheel. So that violet is going to help you neutralize that unwanted brassiness and give you a more clear base blonde. Now, I always like to put a little bit of conditioner on my clients' ends too after I've pre-lightened, so that I can make sure that the ends, when I go back and put a toner on it, it doesn't drab the color too quick. Now, when it comes to just putting regular permanent color on my client's hair, what I like to do sometimes is put the conditioner filler on the ends as well. Because what happens sometimes when I'm taking my clients darker, the ends drab too fast, and that conditioner filler is going to make sure that the color absorbs a little bit more slowly and evenly. Now, when it comes to color, the primary colors are blue, red, and yellow. Now, I've listed them in order of molecular weight because the blue is the largest in molecular weight, red is the medium size in molecular weight, and yellow is the smallest in molecular weight. Now, blue is a dominant color. So what that means is when you are going into the hair stores and you're picking up a box of color and it says maybe 1B, what that means is it's a level 1 color with a blue base to it. Now keep in mind, anytime you use a blue base, because it's a dominant color, it's going to appear a little bit darker than you think. Now, when it comes to red, a lot of people always have questions on why does red fade so fast from my hair? Or why is it so hard to get reds to stay? Well, there's an answer to that. The reasons that reds fade from the hair so quickly is because the molecule of the red is a medium size and it has to penetrate through the cuticle all the way down into the cortex. So anytime you put color on your hair and during the oxidation process, the cuticle layer is opening up and the red has to go all the way down into the cortex. And that molecule is a little bit larger than the yellow one, so it takes a little bit more time to penetrate down to the layer. Now, another reason why reds fade so fast from the hair is because every time we shampoo our hair, we condition our hair, we flat iron our hair, we curl and iron our hair, that cuticle layer is opening back up and allowing that red molecule to escape. Now, something to remember about reds is some things that you can do to help them stay in your hair a little bit longer. You can use a UV conditioner to help the reds stay in your hair a little bit longer. If you're going into chlorinated water, you can condition your hair before you go into the chlorine. You can use a little bit lower heat settings when you're blow drying and flat ironing your hair. All those things will help you hold on to your reds a little bit longer. Now, when it comes to yellow, the reason why a lot of people have a hard time removing that yellow, and when you're bleaching and lightening, you have to go and do the bleach and lightening twice, is because that yellow molecule is so small that the bleach has to work extra hard to dig all the way down into the cortex to remove it. If the color was a little bit larger, if that color molecule was a little bit larger, then the bleach would have an easier time removing it. But because the color molecule is so small, it takes time for that color to oxidize and reach all the way down into the cuticle cortex and remove that pigment. Now, here's a tip. When the client's hair, after I bleach it, it feels like a little wiry, or it feels like it's a little straw-like. Sometimes I will, instead of mixing like a 10V to tone it, I will put a little bit of conditioner in with the 10V. Oftentimes I would do a protein conditioner after, so that the hair can kind of pull back some of those proteins that were removed from the bleaching process. So it's always important to follow up with a protein conditioner after bleaching. Now, there's some other colors that a lot of people are doing nowadays that are very popular, and those are secondary colors and tertiary colors. The green is a combination of blue and yellow. The orange is a combination of red and yellow. Violet is a combination of blue and red. Now, like I said, if you want more information about these tertiary colors or secondary colors, email me at pleasantinvestments123@gmail.com. So let me give you another example. You're in a hair store like Cosmoprof or Salon Centric, two of my favorite stores, and you come across a color box that says 2N. What that color box means is that you're getting a level 2 hair color with a neutral base. And since it's a neutral base, you're going to need all three primary colors. So that 2N has red, blue, and yellow in it. Now, say for instance, you're in a hair store again and you come across a box that says 1V. What that means is you're getting a level color 1 with a violet base. So if your clients don't like violet bases, then V's are not something you want to choose. Say your client doesn't like gold or brassiness, then you don't want to get a color box that has a G on it, because that is gold. Now, let's say you're in a hair store and you come across some terms like oxidizer, peroxide, catalyst. All those three terms are meaning hydrogen peroxide. It's the mixture that you mix into your color. Now, another tricky thing some people need to know is rather to choose cream or an oil base or a liquid base developer when it comes to mixing their bleach. Now, what those differences between those mixtures are, the liquids, they are just pure hydrogen peroxide. The creams have a little bit more conditioner additives, and it helps mix the color a little bit more creamier. It makes the consistency easier to spread on the hair. So just keep in mind too, if you pick a creamier type of peroxide, it's going to slow down the lightening action just a little bit. Now, be careful when you're coloring your client's hair that have been coloring their hair at home. If someone comes into the salon for a hair color that you haven't colored before, be very careful if they've been using color at home. Because a lot of times when clients color their hair at home, they grab boxes from the store shelves, and a lot of those boxes have metallic and compound dyes. Those compound and metallic dyes are not compatible with professional hair color. And what you'll find sometime if you put hair color on top of someone who has metallic or compound dye in their hair, sometimes the color won't take. Sometimes the color will turn gray, sometimes it'll turn copper, sometimes it'll turn green. You have to be really careful when you're coloring someone's hair for the first time when they've been doing it at home. Also keep in mind if they have well water rather than city water. A lot of those things will make a difference when you're putting color on your client for the first time. Now, what you want to do if that client wants to get color and still move on, you want to do a clarifying shampoo. And there's a test that you can do to see if their hair has metallic or compound dyes in them. If you want more information on that test, email me at pleasantinvestments123@gmail.com. Now, just a few final points to wrap up. Anytime you're doing a hair color, whether you are a professional cosmetologist or rather you're coloring your hair at home, there are 3 things that I recommend you have with you. The hair color wheel, the 10 degrees of decolorization chart, and a hair level finder. If you have these 3 things with you, you'll know where you are starting with your hair color, you'll know where you're going and what the underlying tone is, and you will have the color wheel that will tell you what base color you need to use to neutralize that unwanted tone. And with those 3 things, you'll be more successful in your hair coloring, whether you're a cosmetologist or whether you're doing your hair at home. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, please subscribe below. And if you have any questions or additional things I can help you with, please email me at pleasantinvestments123@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.